Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. My first guest, a real interesting guy, man. He's a neighborhood kid from the Bronx and ends up getting a job at Yankee Stadium as a vendor, which is a dream job for him. Would have been for anybody, really, as a Yankee fan. I certainly would have loved to do that if I lived next to the stadium. And he starts in the year 1977, the best year ever. They get the All-Star game in the Bronx, and Reggie hits 3 homers in Game 6 at home against the Dodgers, a game I was at to win it. And from there on, it's nothing but fun. The Munson, Reggie, Randolph, Rivers, Nettles days, my favorite time. He's got a book out called The Pope and Me at Yankee Stadium. My life as the beer man and stand-up comic. And he also became a stand-up comedian. So, interesting life. This is Steve Lazarus. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up? What's going on? Thanks for having me on the show.
Great to have you. So, we were going over a little bit before we went on. So, explain to me. So, you're a neighborhood kid. Your old man does some here and there things for a living, and you end up getting this job. How does this happen?
Like we were saying, my dad was did some shady things, and I was making the money drops. And this one guy, he says, "Hey, he goes, I'm a charge of the vendors at Yankee Stadium."
Right. A guy who was a client of your father.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And he was betting with him, and I'm like, that's cool. And he goes, "You want a job?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my dream job." So I went in. They needed extra vendors because they had the All-Star game there that year, July 19th, 77.
Right.
He says, "Come down because we're going to need more vendors because it's going to sell out." And I'll put you on. And 37 years later, I'm still.
You sold soda.
I sold soda in the upper deck. I made like maybe $50. I think the soda was 75 cents.
$50, 1977. You're 19, right?
I'm in heaven. It's like
to watch an All-Star game in Yankee Stadium.
Exactly.
Right. And you were vendor like 2,177 then.
Yeah, I started out. You get a number. It was like 2177.
Wow.
And then worked my way down. I'm number 43.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I
so that's like the totem pole. The higher number you are, the lower number you are,
the better.
The better stuff you get to sell.
I do a joke about because the only way you move up in seniority now is if somebody dies.
Yeah.
So the joke is vendor number one's like 85 years old. He's been through 2 heart attacks, diabetes, and a gunshot wound from vendor number 2.
Well, have a lot of guys got hit by baseballs, foul balls over the years?
A little bit. Not really.
Aren't you surprised like I am that doesn't happen more often?
I am surprised because people always say to me, "Hey, you get hit by a ball?" I'm like, "No, it's just the fluky
because you're not
thing."
paying attention. You're doing your job, you know. Yeah. So now you sell beer now. That's obviously the best thing. I sell beer now.
That's like the elite thing. I started out selling soda, then they moved me to ice cream, hot dogs.
Ice cream in April when it's
cold. It's freezing, and then cotton candy. It's raining. It's turned into different Kool-Aid.
You want to sell beer, dog.
You want to sell beer because you're working on commission.
Yeah.
So we know the beer, which is now up to $9.75.
Unbelievable.
And
$9.75 for a beer.
Yeah.
Thanks, A-Rod.
Yeah, it's funny.
We gotta pay A-Rod.
I get embarrassed sometimes because I go down, guys like, let me get 4 beers. I'm like 39.
Oh,
I'm sorry, guy. I even apologize.
Yeah, it's hard to say with a straight face.
It is. So
you got to do what you got to do, but you're getting commission.
And getting commission, so you want to sell something that's costing as much, and people are only going to buy 1 hot dog or 2 hot dogs or 1 bag of peanuts. But beer is a all game thing,
right
till the bottom of the 7th when they cut us off.
Then you find it now. I almost like if something comes to $39, I usually give a guy 220s and say keep it. Do you find that happens a lot? You got any tip money?
I'm not supposed to say.
All right, then we'll say yes to that.
Wasn't there a guy? I don't know if it was Stern, but there was a cab driver that was on the radio bragging how much he makes in tips, and somehow the IRS got. I'm not even kidding you. It might have been Stern.
Yeah, cabbie. Crazy cabbie.
Crazy cabbie.
It wasn't tips. And he's not a real cab driver. That was his nickname as a disc jockey.
Oh, okay.
He fought. We had a fight on the air where he fought another guy from the show, Stuttering John.
Right.
And he got paid 100 G's for the fight. And on the air, he's bragging about that he don't pay taxes on 100 grand because he's a veteran and everything.
There you go.
IRS checks him up. He does a year in a joint.
There you go.
Sit on the air.
Yeah. So I mean.
But yeah, you're right. It was his nickname was Crazy Cabbie.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't tips. It was that. So right. It's like a buck here and there, you're fine. But pay your taxes.
No, everybody pretty much. I mean,
pay taxes on tips. It doesn't matter if you get tips. You pay taxes.
Yeah, New York they're great. I mean, the Yankee fans are great. I mean,
I
always get the buck or the depends on the price. If it's like a good price is like 7 1/4.
Right.
So you get the 75 cents plus a buck. Now 9.75. It's like, well, you know.
What then?
keep the
How much
quarter.
was beer in '77? You remember?
I think it was like, the lowest I remember it is like 4.75. But
Wow.
it was crappy beer. I don't know if you remember. It was like in the cup where they had that,
Yeah, the
that
cup
plastic
and
on top.
and always float over
Always
it.
float over it, and then it was not worth it.
Yeah, that
until-
beer gave you a headache,
Yeah,
man.
years later we used to. We finally got in the bottles, the plastic bottles. So
Yeah.
you know they make them plastic.
You
so
sell
now-
the Bud bottles now, right?
Yeah.
Now, you said you don't love the new Yankee Stadium. I mean, compared to the old one.
Well,
The old
yeah.
one was gritty and a little more fun. And
Yeah, I'm just. I hate. First of all, I hate change like anybody else. But
Right.
I don't know. The old stadium was just like the best. It was
Yeah.
just. It was good for vending because there's nowhere you can go. It's like you got to sign up food court. That's all they had was a
Right.
food court.
Now there's everything.
Now there's everything.
I was joking. It was like a crate and barrel.
Let's
in
go to
there.
Yankee game. I want to get sushi.
Yeah. Who's doing that? The tanning salon, for
Yeah,
Christ's sake.
yeah, and they got boar's head ham and anything you want now.
Right. So in other words, the beer was a beer and a dog. Those
That
are your
was
choices.
it. The old time beer and a dog. Yep.
Right. Or the who I always felt sorry for was a guy selling the little toys for the kids.
The souvenir
He's
guys,
got
yeah.
basically a boardwalk on his back.
They couldn't get down.
Stuffed animals.
They couldn't even get down the aisle. These guys. They would have the basket with the foam finger, and
And every time they turn around, they're hitting the guy in the head with it.
I used to do that all the time.
You had to do that
If
one.
I didn't like a guy,
Yeah.
like going up and down the aisle, or a guy would say to me, "Hey, come on, you want to move?" The next time I went down the aisle, if I had hot dogs, bang, right in the head. Getting even.
What about now, cousin Brewski? Do you know that,
I'm
that
good,
crazy
he's
guy?
a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's been there a long time.
Catch a buzz from the cuz.
Right.
Nice
right.
guy.
Cousin Brewski.
And would just schmooze with you and everything. It's a weird story.
He's the guy who would go, "Hey beer, hey beer."
It's a good
Yeah,
good impression.
Yeah.
They actually, if you remember this, he used to have these buttons, get a buzz from the cuz.
Right.
So the Yankees call him in.
Oh, is that
and-
politically incorrect?
Because of, as the years go on with the drunken driving.
Right,
so they
right.
call him in, no more giving out buttons because, somebody driving home,
Oh,
accident,
God. You don't
and they
want
look
that.
at him, where was he? Yankee Stadium. So
Yeah.
they cut off his buttons and,
Wow, I remember that was recently, right? Because I remember reading about that in the paper.
yeah.
Yeah. So was he selling them or on his own?
No, he gave them out.
He gave 'em out.
He would get them done.
Right.
If you bought beers from him, he'd go, "Thanks for catching a buzz from the cuz," and you just put the button on, and then he would come back to you. He was like your customer for the whole night.
Yeah. Now you turned this into a career as a stand-up comic.
Yeah, I kind of like having fun with the fans and rain delays and
Yeah.
making jokes and going up and down the aisles, and you get a lot of material there
Oh,
about
definitely, I can
things
imagine.
going on. So like 95, 96, I decided, why not do stand-up and
Right.
like everybody else, did the open mics
Cool.
and stuff like that, and just
That's how you started doing it. You just getting laughs at the stadium. You said, I could probably do this.
I
In
always
the
wanted
clubs.
to do stand-up, and they're like, well, you got so many stories. I'm always coming home from the game,
Right.
telling stories, and oh, you're not gonna believe what happened, and they'd be like, tell me. So this is one time. I'm coming in. This lady's coming, pregnant lady's coming in,
Right.
and I see security. They grab her to take her in the ladies' room. I'm like, all right, I guess I got to see what's going on here. So the guy comes out with the security guard holding a belt, a pillow, and a 6-pack of beer. Now, do you believe this? They're sneaking in beer, a pregnant woman. I'm like, this is it. It's
Oh, she had it under her shirt.
she looked pregnant. She strapped it on with a belt, and she's walking in pregnant. And
great.
I'm like, this is what goes on there. So I do these stories.
My God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like a lumpy baby. I mean, but I tell you what, that's what those prices make you do.
They make it do. They
$9.75 a beer, man. I mean, a guy who makes $40,000. What's the average salary in America? Is 38 G's, I read.
Exactly.
And you go pay. Who's paying $9.75 a beer? at a
Exactly.
Yankee game?
I used to tell my brother that he has 2 kids and his wife. He's coming to the game, so I'm selling hot dogs. So he goes, "Can you do anything?" I'm like, "Well, they don't count the hot dogs; they count the rolls."
Right.
So he's sneaking in rolls. So I come to him with the bin of hot dogs. He's opening up the rolls. I'm putting hot dogs on the rolls because they don't count the hot dogs. So yeah, it's just things you got to do.
Good deal.
So you've been so it's what 40 years almost. you've been
37.
there.
That
Wow.
was 37. Yeah,
What? And you did stand up. You started doing stand up in 95.
95, 96.
And
Yeah.
now these are the only 2 things you do for a living. You
That's
have
now that's it. I used to do
pretty impressive, man.
payroll,
Right.
accounting, and then 2001 I quit that because some idiot said to me, do you want to do payroll your whole life, or do you want to be a comedian?
Right.
So, answer
That's
that.
the one role they count, the payroll.
Yeah.
You can't get away with that. Now, where do? You do a lot on the road? Like, wow, like during the off season, you do stand-up
I do
on the
more
road?
on the road because during the season, they're obviously home 2 weekends a year.
Right.
So I try to be home, but I can still do Saturday nights because I got a lot of Saturday day games. So I do Saturday nights, one-nighters, or mostly in the winter,
So
the weeks.
there's no bigger guy rooting for the Yanks to get into the playoffs than you.
Me?
The World
No.
Series. The amount of money, like percentage-wise, how much more would you make a year when the Yanks go to the World Series? If they're into
I could make another like $5,000.
Well, yeah,
and if they get every round, it
Right.
depends. You know, I'm the only guy in. It was weird in 2000 when they played the Mets.
Right.
I think I was the only guy rooting for the Mets. And my nephew still hates me for that.
that went 5 games.
Yeah, that won 5 games, but I'm there. Like, come on, lose so I can.
It was they never played a 7 except for the Diamondbacks in 01.
that was on the
they
road.
never had a 7-game series.
Yeah.
03 they lost in Game 6.
Right.
And they won in Game 6 in '96.
Yeah, and they lost to Boston in the playoff in 07.
Right, but I'm talking about when they actually got. So the farthest they ever got for you was World Series Game 6 at home a couple of times.
That's right.
So yeah, you think I was always try to do the math with my buddies about the bars outside, like stands. On River. I mean, you know, the more money those guys got to be rooting for the Yankees to lose a Game 5 if it means going 6 and 7.
I was
right?
in the same boat.
Yeah.
People are like, "What do you mean you wanted to lose? Aren't you a big Yankee fan?" I go, "Well, not.
I'm a money fan."
I'm a money fan. If I could pick up $1,000 at the game, because at the what I used to do is sell the programs.
Right.
Because I would sell beer. And then people want to buy the World Series program.
Sure.
So I would sell it before the game when you came in.
Right.
I'd sell like 100, and then it's called the blow-off. At the end of the game, we just stand there and wait till the game's over. People blowing out.
Yeah.
I'm like programs, and then.
Yeah.
More
Well,
money.
you got to know how to move it. But and figure out the angles and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of people. I would suggest the guys at those bars outside. You're rooting for the Yankees to win. They're like, yeah, in 7 games. Well, we're gonna take a break. That's interesting stuff. I wish I would have been able to be a vendor at the stadium.
Not too late.
Look, let me tell you something. I'm a couple of bad jokes away from doing that. I might end up asking you for a job. We're gonna come back and talk more with Steve Lazarus.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.